Hi everyone, Sandman here. I was originally going to cover a donation-based video today, and I have a few of those to catch up on, but instead I decided to cover the topic of women responding to MGTOW, and what one particular woman has told me about MGTOW, and how I've responded to her. First I'd like to read a comment from this woman named Leslie Fetch. She was watching some of my videos, and this is what Leslie has to say. These videos are weird as hell. I just randomly found this video, and so just heard about MGTOW. I think they're super sexist, but in a misguided way, rather than in a deliberately hostile way. So rather than feeling like it's an attack against women, I feel like these certainly biased due to a lack of male responsibility for shitty things, facts are presented in an emotionally neutral way that comes across as very genuine. So in one way I'm concerned about the message being sent, but appreciate the absence of hostility towards females. I am intrigued. I mean, I've seen scholarly articles like this except with the gender reversed, where a woman says men are nothing but problematic, and then say in a very serious way that all women should essentially become lesbians, at least until we can solve the oppressive gender dynamics. These types of articles go on to say that sex with a man can be nothing but violent, which is insane. I'm not saying that women aren't sometimes responsible for shitty things, but I feel like these essentialist notions of gender, whether it be directed towards males or females, are harmful to both sexes. Now I have a serious question. Do the guys that support MGTOW advocate for total gender segregation? Do you really think women have all the power, which often seems completely diluted to me? And how much responsibility would you say that men have in the messed up gender dynamics? How do you explain all the men in high political and business positions hoarding money and power? And do you believe in any aspect of the concept of patriarchy? I am a woman. I want to be educated on your perspective. And I'm not trying to dismiss your perspective. I truly want to know. Well, Leslie, are we sexist because we refuse to sacrifice ourselves for women and do things for ourselves and by ourselves? MGTOWs aren't deliberately hostile, but instead we're more deliberately passive-aggressive. And we're far from misguided. Taking the red pill is like seeing through the dense fog of covert control and manipulation that women, the state, corporations, and cultural institutions put in front of men to keep us blind. Once we see through this fog, we realize that things are deliberately made complex by women, so that we as men can continue to jump through feminine hoops our entire lives. What you're seeing on the internet, Leslie, is men finally talking about the bondage that women have kept us under since the beginning of time. And now we're free. And if you call our freedom sexist, then you're nothing more than a tyrant. You are intrigued because we're being genuine, rational, and not angry about what we know. Many women would throw a temper tantrum if they realized that someone was oppressing them the same way that women oppress men. Many women have controlled our behavior by giving us sex only when we behaved appropriately, based on what the female collective has agreed to be acceptable behavior. Women dole out sex to men like dog treats. If we take you to a dinner party, or buy you that purse or flowers that you've always wanted, then you typically reward us with your affection, love, and sex. And if we don't, then what do? You put us in the doghouse. MGTOW men accept that this is female nature. It's not a mystery to us anymore. And many of us have seen it long enough to understand that this is female nature, and getting angry about it is a complete waste of time. Do we get angry at a baby for pooping in its diapers? Of course not. Do we get upset when it rains? Of course we don't. Instead, we carry an umbrella, and for us, our umbrella is the internet. Our protection is our knowledge and sharing our wisdom with each other. Leslie, you also say that in scholarly articles, many women writers say that men are a problem, and they say that all women should essentially become lesbians. To me, these are women that fear men and fear our strength. And if you've ever gone to a feminist rally, you'll notice that there are many lesbians there trying to fuel the hatred of men, so that young and naive women run into their arms, into the arms of feminists. As men going our own way, we are predominantly straight males, and we don't tell men to abandon women and shack up with other men. And we don't try to manipulate each other in the same ways that these female authors do that you're describing. Most of us have loved women, and for many of us, this is a painful last step to accepting the fact that we have to let go of the dream called love. A dream that is used to keep men, boys, their entire lives. And society fears real men because a real man lives his life for himself and without regrets. MGTOWs feel that society is keeping us unhappy and unsatisfied so that we will basically be more productive. But the truth is, we're even more productive when we're happy. Yet society fears our happiness. At least you think that men are more than just violent when it comes to sex with women. And some men can be rough in bed, and some women like that. But some men can also be lazy and pushovers in bed, and some women hate that as well. It's a personal preference. You also say that essential notions or stereotypes of gender can be harmful to both men and women. Women are more collective in their way of relating to one another, men and society in general. Because of that, women are more likely to fall into the cliches of stereotyping. Men, on the other hand, are more individualistic and lone wolves, so there tend to be more varieties in our way of seeing the world. I agree that in some cases, stereotyping can be a bad thing. But when most men have no idea about female gynocentrism, they need generalized information to grasp the concepts. Talking about specific women is also something that I do by incorporating personal stories that I've lived and that other men around me have experienced as well. And I've talked about the good as well as the bad. With regards to your serious questions about MGTOW, first of all, you ask if we support total gender segregation. Well, we don't want total gender segregation, and many of us are content to occasionally date and have sex with women, but we won't submit our lives, money, or change our behavior to accommodate some of the ridiculous demands that women can put on us. And we seriously believe that women have all the power because they make up the majority of the voters. Our society is not made up of 50% males and 50% females. If men die 5 years earlier than women, there are more female voters than male voters out there. So therefore, women have more political influence than men. I recently spoke to a woman that didn't agree with this when I brought it up. She thought it had to be 50-50, but it's not. And in some countries, 53 or 54% of the population is actually female. What about proportional representation for men and women? I'm sure that will never fly, making the male and the female vote truly equal. Leslie, you also ask how much responsibility men should take for messing up gender dynamics. Men these days are pussy-whipped. No one likes a whipped man. Not other men, women, or even children. And no one likes wimpy men either. So when men are manginas and white knights and try to help women and give them what they want, they're actually messing things up for everyone else. Guys are irresponsible for being nice guys. And MGTOWs are men and not manginas. One of my clients recently told me that I was an alpha male and that I'm a man's man. And I told her that I've only been this way over the last year and a half, since I grew a pair of balls and saw women's behavior with my faculties of reason instead of my emotions. Women, however, need to take more responsibility because they're the majority of the single parents out there and ultimately responsible for raising men and boys, and thus creating a situation where those men become manginas and harm the gender dynamics. Another question you ask is, why are there so many men in high-up positions in business and politics? Well, the answer to that is quite simple. Men make businesses and create as well as innovate. Women predominantly manage and redistribute the wealth and innovation that men create. Men invent everything, so why shouldn't they make the money and basically keep the power for themselves? Google was founded by 2 men, and Facebook was founded by a man too. The steam engine was created by a man. And so basically what you're saying is that men should invent 99% of the things that we enjoy in our daily life, build their companies, and then hand them over to women. Men hoarding power and money often do this because it allows them to attract and keep females that they find attractive. Money and power are also a means to an end for most men. If you want to be a communist, Leslie, where men give away their power, go live in Cuba or North Korea. When men are stripped of their ability to hoard money and power, they stop inventing or caring because there's no point to working for free. You also ask if I believe in any aspect of the patriarchy. To that question, my answer is, the word patriarchy is used to strip men of their rights by saying that a man has to share power equally. But it's not about power, it's about responsibility. Men are responsible for making sure the roads, factories, buildings, and key infrastructure continues to function. But women don't want to work in construction and road repair for the most part, and they don't want responsibility. They want to work as city planners telling those road workers what to repair from the comfort and safety of a desk. With regards to the fictional character Spider-Man, his uncle once said that with great power comes great responsibility. And most women want great male power, but they don't want great male responsibility. At least the majority of them don't want that. Hopefully I've educated you about what it means to be a MGTOW, as well as what it means to be a man. But women will never truly know what it's like to be a man until they're forced to rely on themselves 100%. Men don't get freebies and handouts from each other. If I ask most of my friends to help me out on a project for free, they will often tell me to piss off. However, if I offer them money, they'll be there on time. Women have the privilege of using their beauty to ask men for free favors. And there's always a white knight or mangina out there to do those favors. That is female privilege, and men will never have that. I wish I could have female privilege, but I've never been able to work what my mama gave me, so to speak. Try doing everything in your life without any help, and see how that works for you. Better yet, do everything for yourself, and help the random guy here and there, and do them a favor. And then you'll see that it sucks to be the average guy in our society. When many women ask me for favors, I tell them, it will cost you. When I ask them for a favor, they often scatter and hide as quickly as possible, and that's been my experience. Men going their own way is about male liberation. For the first time in history, we're free to do what we want, and we're no longer required to be providers. Think of us as the Men's Liberation Society, or Front. Anyways, thanks Leslie for your questions, and thank you everyone else for taking your daily dose of red pills. So enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.